With big names like Jacksepticeye and Markiplier putting up videos featuring everyone's favorite loudspeakered monster, it's natural that he'd come back into the public eye big time. Siren Head, the biggest and tallest viral monster of the past few months. I bet you didn't know he hailed from Canada. That's right, the artist behind the creature, Trevor Henderson, is based in Toronto, so show him some love. Now, when a monster gets popular, it also seems that sightings tend to go up. More and more folks put out photos and videos featuring the creature, and sometimes it's hard to tell reality from the hoaxes. But that's part of the fun, right? So today we're gonna take a look at some especially freaky encounters, and you can tell me what you think about them. Hello, horror heads, and welcome back to the scariest channel on YouTube, Top 5 Scary Videos. I'm your horror host, Keegan Hughes, and today we're gonna be counting down the top 5 Scary Siren Head Sightings. Before we get started, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for more hand-drawn hellishness. Perfect, let's begin. Coming in at number 5, we've got the TikTok sighting. If you've been online over the past week, you've likely seen some iteration of this video. Sure, it's been memed to hell at this point, with all sorts of viral songs being edited over it to make it look like the lanky lad has hit some funky dance moves, but the original is creepy as all get out. Let's take a look at the video posted by TikTok user AlexHoward_. Yeah. Wow. Up until this point, I'd always assumed that Siren Head was a few dozen feet tall, not a few hundred. But that change in scale really boosts the terror, doesn't it? When Siren Head is telephone pole height, it's a horror villain that might take out a few loose teens in the forest. When it's Godzilla size, we have an entire disaster movie on our hands. Absolutely bonkers. The way he shifts back and forth with the eerie sound of Chicago tornado sirens pitched down washing over the city makes you feel like the world is really ending. And if you take a look at the comments on the video, some people seem to think it really is. As the Siren Head lore becomes more and more muddled with popularity, there are a whole lot of folks who see a relatively realistic looking video like this and assume that someone actually captured a video featuring a horrific monster. So somebody go and let them know that it's all gonna be okay. Coming in at number 4, we've got the graveyard incident. I believe this is the earliest known sighting of the lad we all know today as Siren Head. Back during the glory days of Tumblr, Trevor Henderson shared an image of the spindly creature towering over a graveyard atop a hill. It's a clear sunny day, which doesn't usually make for great horror backdrop. There's a certain grain to the image too, adding to the creepy appeal. The photo's accompanied by some text outlining the origins of the legend. A couple was vacationing and decided to take in some local graveyards. Classic morbid couple activities, right? Well, when they arrived at this particular cemetery, the most notable feature was the large art piece sprouting from the middle. At first, the woman wasn't concerned. Seeing something like that standing in the middle of a field must be an installation of some sort. No sane person would assume it was a creature, but oh boy, that changed quickly. Stepping out of her car, she heard the megaphones on its head turn on immediately and starts screeching. 9, 18, 1, child, 17, remove, vile. The short, jarring snippets of radio noise that we've all come to expect at this point. But imagine being the first person to experience this. Jaw-dropping, pants-soiling, scary stuff. Then Siren Head came to life, walking its terrifying long-legged walk towards their car. The post ends there, leaving what happens next very much so up to your imagination, which in all honesty is a much scarier place to leave readers when coming up with some extra details. So what do you think happened to the woman and her boyfriend? Coming in at number 3, we've got the Pine Ridge Hiking Trail. So I thought this was a strictly fictional location at first, but a cursory Google search shows that the Pine Ridge Hiking Trail is indeed a real place. It's part of the Ganaraska Hiking Trail. All the more Canadian locations to flesh out that Canadian lore. Hell yeah. Unfortunately, the Siren Head sighting that happened here was purely digital, although who knows? Maybe it was based on a real encounter. One of the first major interactive experiences featuring Siren Head was a game by Modus Interactive. This PS1 style adventure drops you in the middle of a deep dark wood. The old school textures and sounds really do quite a lot to enhance the eerie atmosphere. As you stroll through the sunset-soaked wilderness, a horrific siren begins to sound. You discover bits and pieces left behind by other unlucky hikers, such as backpacks, pieces of shirts, and more. Large scratch marks point to something sinister lurking in the darkness. The further you walk down the trail, the further the sun sinks below the tree line, and then a terrible discovery is made, and he's there. Siren Head. The lumbering, lanky lad in all his low poly glory, silhouetted against a scorched sky. And from there, all you can do is run, and run, and run. If you flee, Siren Head emits all sorts of disquieting noises from static to sirens to radio babble. Make it to your truck and you're home free, for now. Stick around and see what happens, and well, you won't be sticking around long. Siren Head doesn't like to miss out on meals. Coming in at number 2, we've got Beachfront Chaos. This reminds me of something from a kaiju movie. It's stark and scary and realistic in ways that I don't know if I can fully comprehend. It implies a universe in which monster settings like this are possible, which I love. I want a whole book based on this image, or a movie, or an animated series. Whatever it is, I think this is fantastic. Great work, Anti-Dark Heart. Check her out on Twitter. This is another extremely giant take on Siren Head, and the way it's set up makes it work so very well. Imagine being one of the 2 people cowering on the beach. The absolute mind-numbing dread that accompanies the sight of a creature like that. The fact that it seems to be rising out of the fog, dwarfing everything in the comprehensible vicinity. The panicked birds who just moments before were resting on what they assumed was a gigantic tree or telephone pole of some sort, and there's nowhere to run. Whether you pick the ocean or the sand, you're out of luck. The perspective also implies some sort of photographer who would then share this image with the world. Do people across the globe panic at the first sight of a new terror? Or is this a well-established creature and everyone but these 2 beachgoers is evacuated? So much is left unexplained, but the mood of the picture says so much. Would you run towards a Siren Head in this situation, arms wide open, accepting of your fate? Or would you attempt to escape and live to tell the tale? Coming in at number 1, we got the Eastern Europe encounter. For our final sighting, I figured I'd treat you all to a 2-parter. YouTuber Jojo Pastierson has edited 2 clips of her encounters with Siren Head in Eastern Europe. Wandering around desolate and downtrodden areas, she captures some terrifying sounds coming from the distance. As she parades around, it seems that Siren Head is getting closer and closer, but it never gets close enough to be of any danger, which is why we're still able to count Jojo as one of the living. There are 2 videos done in this style, each creepy in their own way. One is set during the day, and the other as the sun is falling below the horizon. Either situation would be terrifying, but personally I think daytime Siren Head is scarier. To see the wrinkles and wires and rusted skin in full detail would be too much for my fragile little brain. Would you be able to keep the camera on and search for Siren Head, or would you hightail it out of there as soon as possible? Now, most of the sightings, and these 2 included, feature prominent siren noises and static along with some short bursts of words, but Siren Head's been known to use his sounds to affect people directly, whether through a familiar sound or the voice of a loved one. Thankfully, nobody's caught this on video yet, because I don't think we're ready for that discovery. Suffice it to say, I would never want to encounter Siren Head out in the wild. I'm perfectly happy looking at images from the safety of my computer and waiting for Trevor to drop more lore bombs in the coming days. And as Siren Head gets more and more popular over the next little while, I'm sure we'll see plenty more of his megaphone dome. Maybe it'll reach Slenderman level hype, with everyone and their grandma looking for an angle. It'll be interesting to watch unfold. If you've got a favorite photo or video of Siren Head you'd like to share, make sure you let me know down in the comments. Speaking of comments, let's take a look at some of your more erratic ones from the top 5 scary rules Kim Jong-un doesn't have to follow. Jaxer says Keegan's mustache is the new ruler of North Korea. Really? I didn't realize. Does that mean that I'm friends with Dennis Rodman now? Or is it just my mustache? Charlie Gamble says, dude looks like the pizza guy in the porn I found in my dad's room when I was 7. It's not delivery, it's Delicio. Bacon says, tell us what's on your bookshelf. Books. That's a good one. I mean, here's my my prized possession, you know, my copy of Meet the Spartans from Blockbuster, my used copy of Meet the Spartans from Blockbuster. That's a keeper right there. Crystal Seacrest says, I also have a big red button. However, it is a Staples one and doesn't really do anything. Doesn't it say, that was easy, or did the batteries die? And Dakota Coley says, what if Siren Head lives there? Then you don't gotta listen to them rules. Yeah, Siren Head is pretty much free to do as he chooses. Although he might be targeted during one of their missile tests. And that's all the time we have for today. Before I drive home at 100 miles per hour just to see what it feels like to fly, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for more monstrous majesty. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. The absolutely mind-numbing dread that the panicked birds who are just moments away from people across the globe panic at the sight of further. There are 2 videos. Whoop. Thankfully, nobody's caught on this video yet. Nobody, thankfully, nobody. If you've got a favorite video or photo of Siren Head you'd like to see in a video, make sure to give If you've got a favorite photo or video of Siren Head you'd like to see in upcoming videos, nope. Before I drive home at 100 miles per hour just to see what it feels like to fly, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for more monstrous majesty.